The playground in Riverside Park was Maya Chen's sanctuary. Every Saturday at 3 p.m. she brought her daughter here, away from their cramped studio apartment in Washington Heights, away from the double shifts at the diner, away from the collection notices piling up on her kitchen counter. Here 5-year-old Emma could just be a kid, laughing on the swings and making friends with other children whose parents didn't check price tags 3 times before buying anything. Maya sat on her usual bench, watching Emma navigate the monkey bars with fierce determination, her dark braids flying as she swung from rung to rung. The September sun was warm on Maya's face, and for just a moment she let herself breathe. Let herself forget about the eviction notice she'd received yesterday, about the hospital bills from Emma's emergency appendectomy last year that she'd never be able to pay, about the fact that she was 28 years old and felt like she was drowning. That's when she heard it. A little boy's cry, sharp and terrified, cutting through the ambient noise of the playground like a knife. Maya's head snapped toward the sound. A child, maybe 4 years old, with dark curls and enormous brown eyes, stood frozen near the sandbox. He was crying, calling out in Italian, "Papa! Papa!" while 3 men in dark clothing moved toward him with predatory intent. Everything happened in slow motion and lightning fast simultaneously. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Maya's body moved before her mind finished processing. She didn't think about the men's cold expressions or the way their hands moved inside their jackets. She didn't think about her own safety or Emma playing just yards away. She only thought about that little boy's terrified face, about how he reminded her of Emma when she'd been scared in the hospital, small and vulnerable and needing someone to protect her. She ran. "Hey!" Maya shouted, positioning herself between the men and the child. "What do you think you're doing?" The lead man, thick-necked with a scar running down his cheek, looked at her like she was an insane inconvenience. "Move, lady. This doesn't concern you. He's a child. That makes it concern anyone with a conscience." Maya spread her arms wider, making herself a bigger shield. Her heart was hammering so hard she could feel it in her throat, but she didn't move. The boy had latched onto her leg, his small fingers digging into her jeans, his sobs muffled against her thigh. "Last warning," Scarface said, his hand emerging from his jacket. Maya saw the gun before her conscious mind could name it. The black metal caught the afternoon sunlight and time seemed to stop entirely. She should have run. Every survival instinct screamed at her to grab Emma and get as far away as possible. But this little boy, this terrified child clinging to her, he had no one else. His father, wherever he was, wasn't here. And Maya knew with the certainty that came from growing up in foster care, from surviving on the streets at 16, from protecting Emma alone for 5 years, she knew what it felt like to face danger with no one standing between you and it. "No," Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt. "You'll have to go through me first." The man's expression shifted from irritation to cold calculation. "Your funeral." The first shot hit her left shoulder. The impact spun her partially around, pain exploding through her body like liquid fire. She heard Emma screaming from somewhere near the swings, heard other parents shouting, running, chaos erupting across the playground. But Maya didn't fall. She couldn't. The little boy was still behind her. The second shot caught her right side, just below her ribs. Her knees buckled, but she locked them, forcing herself to stay upright. The world was starting to blur at the edges, sounds becoming muffled and distant. The third shot hit her left thigh. This time she did go down, collapsing to her knees but positioning herself so she fell forward, still covering the child with her body. "Mama!" Emma's voice cut through everything, pure terror and desperation. "Stay back, baby." Maya's voice came out weak, strained. "Don't come closer." The fourth shot was the worst. It hit her lower back and Maya felt something fundamental shift inside her, something break. She couldn't feel her legs anymore. Couldn't feel anything except the little boy's heartbeat against her chest, rapid and terrified but alive, still alive. Scarface stepped closer, his gun now aimed at Maya's head. Should have moved. Then the world exploded. The sound of screeching tires was followed by car doors slamming, shouts in Italian and gunfire that made the previous shots sound like firecrackers. Maya's vision was fading, darkness creeping in from the sides, but she heard a voice that cut through everything else. A man's voice, deep and commanding and absolutely lethal. If any of you are still breathing in 10 seconds, you won't be in 20. More gunshots. Screams. The metallic smell of blood mixing with the scent of autumn leaves and playground wood chips. Then strong hands were gently rolling Maya onto her back, carefully extracting the little boy from her protective embrace. Luca, the voice said, softer now but no less intense. Luca, are you hurt? Did they touch you? Papa. The little boy's voice was hoarse from crying. Papa, the lady saved me. She wouldn't let them take me. Maya's eyes struggled to focus. The man kneeling beside her was the most striking person she'd ever seen. Sharp features that looked like they'd been carved from marble, dark eyes that held both violence and vulnerability, expensive suit now streaked with her blood as he cradled his son with one arm while his other hand pressed against the worst of her wounds. Get Dr. Russo here now, he barked at someone Maya couldn't see. And somebody get this woman's daughter. Safely. He knew about Emma. How did he know about Emma? My daughter, Maya tried to say, but it came out as barely a whisper. Blood was pooling beneath her, warm and sticky. She's safe, the man said, his eyes meeting hers with an intensity that should have been frightening but somehow wasn't. My people have her. She's not hurt, I promise you. Who? Maya's vision was fading faster now. Dante Moretti, he said, and Maya saw something shift in his expression as he looked at her. Really looked at her. Not at her wounds or her worn clothing or her obvious poverty, but at her. At the woman who'd thrown herself between bullets and his child. You saved my son's life. Just a kid, Maya managed. Couldn't let them. You took 4 bullets for a child you didn't know. Dante's jaw tightened, and Maya saw his hand trembling slightly as it pressed harder against her shoulder wound. Stay with me. Do you hear me? You stay with me. I don't even know your name. Maya Chen. Maya. He said it like he was memorizing it, like it was something precious. I'm going to get you help. The best doctors, the best hospital. You're going to survive this, do you understand? Maya wanted to tell him that people like her didn't survive things like this. That she had no insurance, no money for hospitals, that she'd probably die in the ambulance because she couldn't afford the ride. But the darkness was pulling at her too insistently, and all she could manage was, Emma. Please. Take care of Emma. I will protect both of you, Dante said, and something in his voice made it sound like a vow, like a blood oath. I swear on everything I am, Maya Chen. You're under my protection now. Both of you. The last thing Maya saw before the darkness took her completely was Dante Moretti's face. Fierce and determined and absolutely certain. And the last thing she heard was Emma's voice, scared but safe, being comforted by a woman with a kind Italian accent. Then nothing. Maya woke to the smell of antiseptic and the steady beep of machines. Her entire body felt like one massive bruise, pain radiating from what seemed like every nerve ending. When she tried to move, agony lanced through her shoulder, her side, her thigh, her back. Don't move. A woman's voice, professional and calm. You've just come out of your 3rd surgery, Mrs. Chen. Your body needs time to heal. Maya's eyes cracked open to find a hospital room that looked nothing like the emergency rooms she was used to. This was private, spacious, with equipment that looked brand new and expensive. A doctor stood beside her bed, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and steady hands. Where? Maya's throat was raw. Mount Sinai, private wing. The doctor checked her 4-line. I'm Dr. Russo. Mr. Moretti brought you here personally 5 days ago. You've been unconscious since the surgery. 5 days. Emma. Maya tried to sit up, panic overriding pain. My daughter is fine, Dr. Russo said firmly, gently pressing Maya back down. She's been here every day. Mr. Moretti made sure she was cared for. Proper meals, comfortable accommodations. She's with Mrs. Bianchi right now, probably eating her 3rd gelato of the day. The information was too much to process. Maya's mind felt foggy from whatever pain medication they had her on. I can't afford this. Any of this. Mr. Moretti has taken care of all expenses, Dr. Russo said, and something in her expression suggested this was not a topic for negotiation. He's been here every day as well. Refused to leave until we assured him you'd survive. Why would he? You saved his son's life. Dr. Russo's voice softened. In Dante Moretti's world, that creates a debt that can never truly be repaid. But he's certainly going to try. The door opened before Maya could ask what that meant. Dante Moretti entered like he owned the hospital, which, given the deference of the staff, he might have. He was dressed more casually than at the park, dark jeans and a black sweater that emphasized his powerful build, but he moved with the same predatory grace. Behind him came a small tornado in the form of Luca, who broke free of his father's hand to run toward Maya's bed. "You're awake." The little boy's face lit up with joy. "Papa said you'd wake up soon." "Luca, careful," Dante warned, but his son had already stopped at the bedside, his small hands gently touching the rail. "You saved me," Luca said seriously, his enormous brown eyes solemn. "The bad men wanted to take me, but you wouldn't let them. You got hurt protecting me." Maya's throat tightened. "I'm glad you're okay, sweetheart." "I told everyone you're a hero," Luca continued. "Like the superheroes in my books. Papa says you're the bravest person he's ever met." Maya's eyes met Dante's over his son's head. The intensity in his gaze made her breath catch, even through the pain and medication fog. "Could you give us a moment?" Dante said quietly to Dr. Russo, who nodded and excused herself. Then to Luca, "Go find Mrs. Bianchi and Emma. I need to talk to Miss Maya." "Okay, Papa." Luca reached out and very gently touched Maya's hand. "Thank you for saving me. I love you." The simple, earnest declaration from this 4-year-old boy made Maya's eyes burn with unshed tears. "I love you too, sweetie." After Luca left, Dante pulled a chair close to Maya's bedside and sat, his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped. Up close, Maya could see the exhaustion in his face, the stubble on his jaw suggesting he hadn't shaved in days, the wrinkles in his expensive clothes that indicated he'd been wearing them far too long. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Like I got shot 4 times, Maya said, then immediately regretted the flippancy. "Sorry. Thank you. For Emma. For this." She gestured vaguely at the hospital room. "I'll pay you back somehow. I don't know how, but I will." Dante's expression shifted into something unreadable. "You think this is about money? About a debt you need to repay? Isn't it?" "No." He leaned back, studying her with those dark, intense eyes. Maya Chen, 28 years old. Single mother. Works double shifts at Mike's Diner in Washington Heights. Facing eviction. 30,000 in medical debt from your daughter's appendectomy. No family support system. Yet when you saw my son in danger, you didn't hesitate. You threw yourself between him and bullets without knowing who he was, without thinking about your own daughter, without any expectation of reward. Maya's skin prickled. "You investigated me. I investigate everyone who enters my life, especially someone who saves my son's life." Dante's voice held no apology. "Do you know who I am, Maya? Really no. You're Dante Moretti." Maya had heard the name whispered at the diner, had seen it in newspapers. "You run things. Businesses that aren't entirely legal." "I run the Moretti family," Dante said bluntly. "My grandfather built an empire that spans shipping, construction, waste management, legitimate businesses. But we also control territories, settle disputes, and protect our interests in ways that don't involve courts or lawyers. I'm what people politely call a businessman and what others call a criminal. What I am definitively is dangerous." Maya's mouth went dry. He should be terrified. She'd just discovered she'd saved the son of a literal mafia boss. But instead of fear, she felt something else. A strange certainty that despite everything he'd just said, this man wouldn't hurt her. "The men at the park," she said slowly. "They were trying to kidnap Luca? The Calabrese family. Rivals who thought taking my son would give them leverage." Dante's voice went cold. "They were wrong. They're no longer a problem." The casual way he said it sent a shiver through Maya. "You killed them. They shot you 4 times while you protected my child." "Yes, I killed them. No hesitation, no regret. I would have done far worse if they'd succeeded in taking Luca." This should be her cue to ask him to leave, to want nothing more to do with this world. But Maya found herself asking instead, "Where's Luca's mother?" Pain flickered across Dante's face. "She died 3 years ago. Cancer. Luca barely remembers her." "I'm sorry." "So am I." Dante leaned forward again. "Which brings me to why I'm here, why I've been here every day. You saved my son, Maya. In my world, that creates an obligation that transcends everything else. But more than that." He paused, choosing his words carefully. I watched the security footage from the park. I saw you recognize the danger, grab Luca, put yourself between him and those guns. I saw you take the first bullet and stay standing. The second and you still didn't fall. The third and you went down but kept your body over his. The fourth and you were still protecting him even as you lost consciousness. Maya didn't know what to say. It had all been instinct reaction. I've seen soldiers with less courage, Dante continued. I've known men who claimed loyalty but fled when bullets started flying. But you, a woman who had everything to lose and nothing to gain, you stayed. You fought. You nearly died for my son. He's a child, Maya said simply. I have a daughter. I know what it's like to love someone so much you'd die for them. I couldn't let those men take him. Dante's jaw tightened. And that's exactly why I'm making you an offer you're going to want to refuse but desperately need to accept. What kind of offer? You're facing eviction. Medical debt. Working yourself to exhaustion. Raising Emma alone with no support system. Dante's voice was matter-of-fact, not pitying. I'm offering you a way out. A job, housing, security, and most importantly, protection. Maya's heart started pounding. What kind of job? Luca needs someone, Dante said quietly. Since his mother died, we've had nannies, but none of them lasted. He has nightmares. He barely speaks to most people. Mrs. Bianchi does her best, but she's our housekeeper, not a mother figure. He met Maya's eyes. But he's talked about you nonstop since the park. He drew you pictures. He asks when you'll wake up. He told me you're his hero. You want me to be his nanny. I want you to be part of our family, Dante corrected. You and Emma. Live in my home, care for Luca. Let me provide for both of you the way you provided for my son, with your life. It was too much. Too fast. Maya's head was spinning. Mr. Moretti. Dante. Dante, she amended, the name feeling strange on her tongue. I don't know anything about your world. I'm a waitress from Washington Heights. Emma and I were nobody. You're the woman who saved my son, Dante said, and something fierce entered his voice. That makes you somebody. That makes you family. In my world, family is everything. Your world tried to kill me. My world will kill anyone who tries to harm you again. Not a threat, a promise. Those men are dead. The Calabrese family is finished. And I'm offering you something that money can't buy. My personal protection. Nobody touches what's mine, Maya. Nobody. The possessive edge to his words should have been a red flag. Instead, it made Maya feel something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. I need time, she said finally. To think. To heal. To figure out if this is real or if I'm hallucinating from pain medication. Dante's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Fair enough. You have until you're discharged from the hospital to decide. But Maya. He stood, towering over her bed. I'm not a patient man and I don't make offers twice. This is your one chance to change everything. For you and for Emma. I suggest you take it. He left before she could respond, leaving Maya alone with her thoughts and the steady beep of machines monitoring her recovery. Outside her door, she could hear Emma's laughter mixing with Luca's, two children playing together without understanding the complicated adult world threatening to collide around them. Maya closed her eyes, her body aching, her mind reeling. She'd woken up this morning in her cramped studio apartment, worried about rent and bills and how to give Emma a decent life. Now she was lying in a luxury hospital room, having been shot 4 times protecting a Mafia boss's son, being offered a life she couldn't quite believe was real. But as she drifted back toward medicated sleep, one thought persisted. Dante Moretti had looked at her like she mattered. Like she was worth protecting. Like she was more than just a struggling single mother barely surviving. And that, more than anything else he'd said, made her want to accept his offer. Even if it terrified her. Especially because it did. Maya was discharged from the hospital 3 weeks after the shooting. 3 weeks of physical therapy that left her gasping with pain, of doctors carefully monitoring her recovery, of Emma visiting every afternoon with drawings and stories about her new friend Luca. 3 weeks of Dante Moretti appearing at her door every evening like clockwork, sometimes with Luca, sometimes alone, always asking the same question, "Have you made your decision?" She'd finally answered him on day 19. "Yes," Maya had said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "But I have conditions." Dante had raised an eyebrow, the hint of a smile playing at his lips. "Of course you do," Emma comes first. Always. If I ever feel like your world is putting her in danger, we leave. No arguments. Agreed. I'm not your employee. I'm not your property. I care for Luca because I want to, not because you own me. Understood. And if you ever lie to me about the dangers, about what you do, about anything that affects my daughter, we're done. Dante had leaned forward then, his dark eyes intense. I will never lie to you, Maya. I may not tell you everything, but what I do tell you will be the truth. Can you accept that distinction? Maya had nodded slowly. I can accept it if you accept that I'm going to ask questions. A lot of them. I'd expect nothing less from a woman who argued with armed men. His expression had softened. You're not a prisoner, Maya. You're choosing this. That matters to me. Now, standing in front of the Moretti estate in Alpine, New Jersey, Maya wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. The mansion was absurd. 3 stories of limestone and glass overlooking the Hudson River, surrounded by manicured grounds and security that was visible even from the circular driveway. Men in dark suits patrolled the perimeter with earpieces and the telltale bulges of concealed weapons. Cameras tracked their approach from multiple angles. This wasn't just wealth. This was power, the kind that came from generations of building an empire in the shadows. Mama, it's like a castle. Emma breathed, her 5-year-old eyes wide with wonder. It's a house, baby, Maya said, though even she couldn't quite believe it. A very big house. The SUV that had picked them up from the hospital, driven by a silent man named Angelo who was apparently Dante's head of security, pulled to a stop at the front entrance. Before Maya could gather their meager belongings, the door opened and Luca came flying down the steps. Maya. Emma. He launched himself at them with the enthusiasm only a 4-year-old could muster. You're here. You're really here. Papa said you were coming to live with us. Maya caught him carefully, mindful of her still healing wounds, and felt her heart expand. This little boy, with his dark curls and infectious joy, had been the light in her hospital recovery. His daily visits, his artwork, his simple acceptance of her, it had all made the decision easier. We're here, Maya confirmed, kneeling down to his level despite the twinge in her thigh. Are you going to show us around? Yes. I have so much to show you. Luca grabbed Emma's hand with the ease of children who'd already decided they were best friends. Come on, Emma. I have a playroom with everything. And there's a garden with a fountain, and Papa said we can get a puppy if you want one. As the children ran ahead, Maya straightened slowly, her body protesting. A hand appeared at her elbow, steadying her. Dante stood beside her, dressed in casual charcoal slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, looking somehow more dangerous than when he wore his expensive suits. Easy. Dr. Russo said no sudden movements for another month. I'm fine, Maya said automatically, then caught his expression. Thank you. Come. I'll show you to your quarters. Dante kept his hand at her elbow, his touch light but unmistakably possessive. Mrs. Bianchi has been preparing for your arrival all week. I'm told she's terrified you won't like the rooms. I'm sure they'll be fine, Maya said, then stopped when they entered the foyer. The interior was somehow both intimidating and beautiful. Marble floors, artwork that Maya suspected was original, a sweeping staircase that belonged in a movie. But there were also signs of life. Luca's toys in a basket near the stairs, family photos on the walls, fresh flowers in vases that suggested someone cared about making this house a home. Mr. Moretti. A woman in her 60s bustled toward them, her kind face wreathed in smiles. And this must be Miss Maya. Oh, we've heard so much about you. Maya, this is Mrs. Bianchi, Dante introduced. She runs the household and makes sure I don't starve when I'm too stubborn to eat. Mrs. Bianchi swatted his arm with comfortable familiarity. You work too much, that's the problem. But now you have Maya and little Emma here, maybe you'll remember to come home for dinner. She turned to Maya, her expression warming. Thank you for saving our Luca. He's a special boy. He is, Maya agreed, feeling oddly emotional at the genuine welcome. Come, I'll show you to your rooms. Mrs. Bianchi started up the stairs, chattering in rapid-fire Italian mixed with English. I put you on the 2nd floor near Luca's room. I hope that's okay? Mr. Moretti said you'd want to be close to him, and there's a connecting door if you need it. The rooms turned out to be an entire suite. A spacious bedroom with an en suite bathroom, a smaller adjoining room perfect for Emma, a sitting area with comfortable furniture and windows that overlooked the estate's gardens. It was larger than their entire studio apartment had been, and infinitely more luxurious. "This is too much," Maya whispered. "Nonsense," Mrs. Bianchi said firmly. "This is family quarters. Your family now. Luca won't accept anything less, and neither will Mr. Moretti." She patted Maya's arm. "Rest now. Dinner is at 7. The children will be fine. Angelo has eyes on them in the playroom." After Mrs. Bianchi left, Maya stood in the center of her new bedroom, trying to process everything. The clothes in the closet that somehow fit her perfectly. The toiletries in the bathroom that included her exact preferred brands. The framed photo on the nightstand showing her and Emma from before the shooting. How had Dante gotten that? "I had Angelo retrieve items from your apartment," Dante's voice came from the doorway. Maya turned to find him leaning against the frame, watching her with that intensity that made her skin prickle. "I hope that wasn't an invasion of privacy. You went through my things. I had someone inventory them to make sure nothing important was left behind. Your landlord was cooperative when I explained the situation." Dante's jaw tightened. "You're paid up for 6 months. If you decide to leave after that, you'll have somewhere to return to." Maya's throat constricted. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." Dante moved into the room, his presence filling the space. "You need to know you have choices, Maya. This isn't a cage. You can walk away anytime. But you don't think I will. I think you're smart enough to recognize safety when it's offered." He stopped a few feet from her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine. "But more than that, I think you care about Luca. I saw how you looked at him at the hospital. The same way you look at Emma." "He's easy to care about," Maya admitted. "He's sweet and funny, and he has your eyes." Something flickered across Dante's face at that. His mother's smile, though. That's all her. The mention of Luca's mother created a strange tension. Maya knew she was stepping into a ghost's territory, caring for a dead woman's child in a dead woman's home. "Does it bother you," she asked quietly, "that I'm here? In her space?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. "Sophia died 3 years ago. For 3 years this house has felt like a tomb." Luca barely smiled. "I barely remembered how. But these past few weeks, hearing him talk about you, seeing him excited again." He met her eyes. "Oh, Maya. It doesn't bother me. It feels like we're finally learning to live again." The honesty in his voice made Maya's heart ache. "I'll do my best with him. With both of them. I know you will." Dante moved toward the door, then paused. "One more thing. You'll have security assigned to you whenever you leave the estate. It's not negotiable." Maya's defenses went up immediately. "I'm not a prisoner." "You're not," Dante interrupted, his voice firm. "But you're also not naive. The Calabrese family is gone, but I have other enemies. They know Luca matters to me. Once they learn you matter too, they'll see you as leverage. I won't risk you or Emma." "How long?" Maya asked. "How long until I'm not a target?" Dante's expression turned grim. "In my world, probably never. But it becomes routine. Background noise. Angelo is discreet. You'll barely notice him." "I notice everything," Maya said. "Comes from growing up having to watch my back constantly. Then we have that in common." Dante's smile was brief but genuine. "Get settled. Rest. Tomorrow we'll establish routines, boundaries, all the practical details. Tonight, just let yourself breathe." After he left, Maya sank onto the bed, an actual mattress that didn't have springs poking through, and let the reality wash over her. She'd agreed to live in a Mafia boss's mansion. To care for his son. To accept protection that came with armed guards and security cameras and the constant awareness that danger lurked just beyond these gates. But she'd also agreed to give Emma a life without eviction notices and empty cupboards. A life where she could have a friend in Luca and safety in Mrs. Bianchi's warm presence. A life where Maya didn't have to choose between paying rent and buying groceries. A life where Dante Moretti looked at her like she was worth protecting. That last thought was the most dangerous one of all. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. The first week at the Moretti estate was a careful dance of establishing routines and boundaries. Maya woke at 6 every morning, her body still programmed for diner shifts, and found Dante already in the kitchen drinking espresso while reading reports that he quickly put away when she entered. They'd share quiet conversation, surface-level topics about Luca's schedule, Emma's adjustment, the weather, while the house slowly came to life around them. At 7, Mrs. Bianchi would arrive and begin preparing breakfast with the kind of enthusiasm that suggested feeding people was her love language. Luca and Emma would tumble downstairs shortly after, still in pajamas, and the kitchen would fill with children's laughter and the smell of fresh pastries. Dante would leave for work by 8, usually with Angelo and several other security personnel in tow. Maya learned not to ask where he was going or when he'd return. She'd see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened when his phone rang with certain calls, and she understood that his world operated on rules she wasn't ready to fully comprehend. Her days with Luca and Emma fell into a comfortable rhythm. The children adored each other with the intensity of lonely kids who'd finally found a friend. They'd spend mornings in the playroom, an entire room dedicated to toys and games and imagination, or in the gardens when the September weather cooperated. Maya discovered that Luca was brilliant but struggled with nightmares about his mother. He'd wake screaming some nights and Maya would rush to his room to find him tangled in sheets, calling for someone who couldn't answer. She'd hold him, rock him, sing Spanish lullabies her own mother had sung before she died, and gradually Luca would calm. The third time it happened, Maya looked up from Luca's bed to find Dante standing in the doorway, his expression raw with pain and something else. Gratitude, maybe, or relief that someone finally knew how to soothe his son. "Thank you," he'd whispered. "He's grieving," Maya had said softly. "It takes time. It's been 3 years. Grief doesn't have a timeline, Dante. It just is." That night marked a shift between them. Dante started coming home for dinner more often, joining them at the large dining room table that had probably sat empty for years. He'd listen to Luca and Emma chatter about their day, his expression softening in ways Maya suspected he didn't even realize. And he'd look at Maya with increasing frequency, his dark eyes holding questions she wasn't sure either of them were ready to ask. On the 10th day everything changed. Maya was in the garden with the children when Angelo appeared at her side, his expression grim. "Miss Chen, I need you and the children to come inside. Now." The urgency in his voice sent Maya's protective instincts into overdrive. "What's wrong?" "Potential threat. Mr. Moretti is handling it, but he wants you secure." Maya gathered the children without arguing, noting how Angelo positioned himself between them and the perimeter of the estate. Once inside, he directed them to a room Maya hadn't seen before, a reinforced safe room with monitors showing various angles of the property. On one screen, Maya saw Dante standing at the front gate, his body language radiating controlled violence as he faced 3 men in expensive suits. "Who are they?" Maya asked. "De Luca family," Angelo said, his hand inside his jacket where his weapon rested. "They've been trying to expand into our territory. This is them making their position clear." Maya's stomach twisted as she watched Dante engage in what looked like a tense negotiation. She couldn't hear the words, but she could see the threat in the other men's postures, the way Dante's security team had subtly surrounded them. "Mama, I'm scared," Emma whispered, pressing against Maya's side. "It's okay, baby," Maya soothed even as her own heart raced. "We're safe here." Luca was silent, his small face pale. He'd seen this before, Maya realized. This was the reality of his life. A father whose business involved men with guns and territorial disputes that could turn violent at any moment. On the screen, one of the De Luca men pointed toward the house, toward where Maya and the children were hidden. Dante's reaction was immediate and terrifying. He moved with lethal speed, grabbing the man's wrist and twisting it at an angle that made Maya wince even through the silent monitor. The confrontation escalated. More shouting. More security personnel appearing. Then mercifully the De Luca men retreated to their vehicles and drove away. 20 minutes later, Dante burst into the safe room. His eyes immediately found Maya and the children, his entire body relaxing fractionally when he confirmed they were unharmed. "Everyone okay?" His voice was rough. "We're fine," Maya said. "What did they want?" Dante's jaw tightened. "They wanted to deliver a message. They know about you, about your importance to this family. They're testing boundaries, seeing how far they can push." Maya's blood ran cold. "They threatened us? They implied future action if I don't concede territory." Dante knelt in front of Luca, his hands gentle as he cupped his son's face. You're safe, Piccolo. No one is going to hurt you or Maya or Emma. I promise. I know, Papa, Luca said, but his voice trembled. You always keep us safe. After Mrs. Bianchi took the children to the kitchen for hot chocolate and cookies, her universal solution to stress, Dante turned to Maya. This is what I meant about my world, he said quietly. This is why you need protection. The DeLuca family won't make a move against you directly, not yet, but they're watching. Waiting for weakness. So what do we do? Maya asked, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. We show them there is no weakness. Dante moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small safe room. We show them that you and Emma are untouchable. That anyone who threatens what's mine will face consequences they can't survive. I'm not yours, Maya said automatically, but the words felt hollow even to her own ears. Aren't you? Dante's voice dropped to that dangerous softness she was learning to recognize. You live in my home. You care for my son. You sit at my table every night. You're the first person I think about when I wake up and the last person I see before I sleep. Tell me, Maya, what would you call that? Maya's breath caught. I'd call it an arrangement. Protection in exchange for caring for Luca. Is that all it is? Dante reached out, his fingers barely grazing her cheek. Because when I saw that monitor and realized the DeLucas knew about you, when I thought about them even looking at you with intent, I wanted to burn their entire organization to the ground. That's not about an arrangement, Maya. That's about something much more dangerous. Dante. I'm falling for you, he said bluntly. I've been fighting it since the hospital, telling myself it was gratitude or obligation or anything but what it actually is. But watching you with Luca, seeing you bring life back to this house, feeling like I can breathe again when you're near, I can't pretend anymore. Maya's heart was hammering. You barely know me. I know you threw yourself between bullets and my son. I know you sing Spanish lullabies when he has nightmares. I know you make sure Emma feels included even when Luca monopolizes your attention. I know you're strong enough to survive 4 gunshot wounds and kind enough to forgive me for dragging you into this world. Dante's hand moved to cup her face fully now. I know enough, Maya. The question is, do you? Maya should step back. Should maintain professional distance. Should remember that this man was dangerous, that his world had literally tried to kill her, that getting involved with him would complicate everything. But his hand was warm against her skin, and his eyes held a vulnerability she suspected few people ever saw, and when she really examined her feelings, the way her heart raced when he entered a room, the way she listened for his footsteps every evening, the way she'd started to crave these quiet morning conversations, she couldn't deny the truth. I'm terrified, she whispered. Of me. Of how much I'm starting to care about you. Maya closed her eyes. Of how natural this all feels. Of how I'm forgetting that this started as survival and is becoming something else entirely. Would that be so terrible? Dante's thumb traced her cheekbone. Letting survival become something more? Your world tried to kill me, Maya reminded him. And today it threatened my daughter. My world also saved you, Dante countered. My doctors, my resources, my protection. Yes, there are dangers. Yes, there will be men like the DeLucas who see you as leverage. But Maya, I will destroy anyone who tries to hurt you. I will burn everything I've built before I let harm come to you or Emma. The possessive declaration should have been a red flag. Instead, it made Maya feel something she hadn't felt since before Emma was born. Cherished. This is insane, she said, but she didn't pull away. Completely, Dante agreed. But some of the best things are. He kissed her then, softly at first, questioning, giving her every opportunity to pull away. But Maya found herself leaning into him instead, her hands fisting in his shirt, kissing him back with 3 weeks of denied attraction and the adrenaline aftermath of fear. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. I need you to understand something, he said quietly. If we do this, if we let this become real, it changes everything. You become not just Luca's caregiver but my partner. The DeLucas and every other family will know you matter to me. The target on your back gets bigger. And if I say I can't handle that? Then we maintain distance. Professional boundaries. I protect you and Emma because that's my obligation, but we don't let this, he gestured between them, become more than it already has. Maya thought about the question carefully. Thought about Emma's laughter with Luca, about Mrs. Bianchi's warm welcomes, about waking up every morning without the crushing weight of survival anxiety. Thought about Dante's vulnerability when he watched her soothe his son, about his careful respect for her boundaries, about how he'd given her choices when he could have simply dictated terms. I want more, she admitted. I want to see where this goes. But Dante, I need honesty. About the dangers, about your business, about what I'm really agreeing to. I'll tell you everything I can, Dante promised. Some things have to stay separate, for your protection as much as mine, but I'll never lie to you. And if I think something is too dangerous, I'll tell you why. That's not the same as letting me make informed choices. No, it's not, Dante agreed. But it's the best I can offer in this world. Complete transparency gets people killed, Maya. I won't risk you that way. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the equal partnership she demanded in her conditions. But it was honest, and it was more than most people in his position would offer. Okay, Maya said. We try. But slowly. We don't rush this. Agreed. Dante's smile was genuine, transforming his face. Though I should warn you, slowly in my world might be different than yours. I've already mentally redesigned your suite to connect to mine. Maya laughed despite everything. Absolutely not. We're not even dating yet and you're planning cohabitation. I'm Italian. We plan long-term. He kissed her forehead gently. Come on. The children probably think we've been kidnapped. Mrs. Bianchi has definitely prepared enough food to feed an army as stress relief. As they left the safe room, Dante's hand found the small of her back, possessive and protective in equal measure. Maya let herself lean into the touch, into the promise of something she'd never expected to find. She'd come to this mansion expecting to survive. He was starting to realize she might actually live. And that was far more terrifying and exhilarating than any threat the De Luca family could pose. 3 weeks after Maya and Dante's first kiss, the mansion felt like home in ways that should have been impossible. Emma and Luca were inseparable, creating elaborate games that involved Luca's toy castle and Emma's stuffed animals in increasingly complex storylines. Mrs. Bianchi had taken to teaching both children Italian cooking, resulting in flower-covered kitchens and laughter that echoed through the halls. And Maya was falling deeper into this life with every passing day. She and Dante were careful around the children, maintaining appropriate boundaries in their presence. But in the early mornings before the household woke, they'd find each other in the kitchen. Stolen kisses between sips of espresso. Quiet conversations about everything and nothing. Dante's hand on her waist as she reached for a coffee cup. Maya's fingers in his hair as he pulled her close. It was domestic and dangerous and absolutely intoxicating. But on the 21st day, the danger Dante had warned her about became visceral and immediate. Maya was at the grocery store with Angelo trailing discreetly behind when her phone rang. An unknown number. Hello. Maya Chen. The voice was male, unfamiliar, with an accent she couldn't place. You're a difficult woman to get alone. Every instinct screamed danger. Maya's eyes found Angelo, who had already noticed her expression and was moving closer. Who is this? Someone who has a message for Dante Moretti. Tell him that his little family isn't as protected as he thinks. Tell him that the De Luca family doesn't forget slights. And tell him, the voice turned cold, that we know where Emma's school is. We know her schedule. We know she likes strawberry ice cream from the shop on 181st Street. Maya's blood turned to ice. If you touch my daughter. We won't have to. That's the point. Moretti backs off our territory and your daughter stays safe. He continues to push and accidents happen. Children are fragile after all. The line went dead. Maya stood frozen in the produce section, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped her phone. Angelo was at her side immediately. What happened? They threatened Emma. Maya's voice didn't sound like her own. The De Lucas. They know about her school, her routine, everything. They said, her voice broke. They said accidents happen to children. Angelo's expression turned murderous. We're leaving. Now. He was already on his phone, speaking rapid Italian to someone as he guided Maya toward the exit. Mr. Moretti, we have a situation. The drive back to the estate took 15 minutes that felt like hours. Maya's mind was racing with horrible possibilities, with every parent's worst nightmare. She'd brought Emma into this world. She'd accepted Dante's protection and put her daughter in the crosshairs of his enemies. When they pulled through the gates, Dante was already waiting. He opened Maya's door before the car fully stopped, his eyes searching her face. "Where's Emma?" Maya demanded, panic clawing at her throat. "Safe. In the playroom with Luca and 3 security personnel." Dante's hands gripped her shoulders. "Breathe, Maya. She's safe. They called me. They know everything about her. Maya's voice cracked. "They threaten my baby Dante. They said accidents happen to children." Dante's expression went absolutely cold, and Maya saw a glimpse of the man his enemies feared. "Tell me exactly what they said." Word for word. Maya repeated the conversation, watching Dante's rage build with each sentence. By the time she finished, his jaw was so tight she could see the muscle jumping. "Angelo," Dante said, his voice deadly calm. "Activate all security protocols. I want every member of the DeLuca family under surveillance within the hour. Find out who made that call and where they are right now." "Already on it, boss." Dante turned back to Maya, his hands gentling on her shoulders. "They made a mistake threatening Emma. They've just signed their own death warrant." "Dante, I can't." Maya's composure finally cracked. "I can't lose her. She's everything to me. If something happened to her because of this, because of us, nothing is going to happen to her." Dante pulled Maya against his chest, his arms wrapping around her with fierce protectiveness. "I swear on everything I am, Maya. Emma is under my protection now. The DeLucas just made this personal and they have no idea what they've unleashed." "What are you going to do?" "What I should have done the moment they showed up at my gate." Dante's voice was cold steel. "I'm going to remind them why the Moretti family has controlled this territory for 3 generations. I'm going to make an example that ensures no one ever threatens what's mine again." Maya should have been horrified by the violence implied in his words. Instead, she felt a savage satisfaction. These men had threatened her daughter. They deserved whatever Dante had planned. "I want them gone," she said fiercely. "I want Emma safe. She will be." Dante tilted her face up, his dark eyes burning with intensity. "But Maya, this means escalation. It means war with the DeLucas. It means your life and Emma's becoming even more restricted for a while until the threat is eliminated. Are you prepared for that?" "I'm prepared for whatever keeps my daughter alive." "Then trust me." Dante kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips, gentle despite the violence thrumming through him. "Trust that I will handle this. That I will protect both of you. That anyone who threatens my family will cease to exist." The possessive way he said "my family," including Emma in that declaration, made Maya's heart ache and swell simultaneously. "I trust you," she whispered. "I don't know when it happened, but I do." "Good." Dante released her reluctantly. "Go to Emma. She needs to see you're okay. I'll handle the rest." Maya found Emma and Luca in the playroom, surrounded by security she barely recognized. Her daughter looked up with a bright smile that nearly broke Maya's heart. "Mama, we're playing castle. Luca is the king and I'm the queen and we're protecting the kingdom from dragons." Maya gathered Emma into her arms, holding her close, breathing in her daughter's strawberry shampoo scent. "That sounds like a very important job." "Angelo said we have to stay inside today," Emma continued, oblivious to the danger. "He said it's because of bad weather, but there's no rain." "Sometimes grown-ups are extra careful," Maya said, stroking Emma's hair. "It's because we love you so much." That night, after both children were asleep, Maya found Dante in his study. He was on the phone, speaking in rapid Italian that sounded like orders, cold, efficient, absolute. When he saw her, he ended the call abruptly. "You should be resting." "I can't sleep." Maya closed the door behind her. "Tell me what you're doing." Dante studied her for a long moment, then gestured to the chair across from his desk. "The DeLuca family operates out of 3 main locations. I'm having my people position at each one. Tomorrow morning we send a message." "What kind of message?" "The kind that ends threats permanently." Dante leaned back, his expression unreadable. "The man who called you is Marco DeLuca's nephew. Carlo. He thought he was being clever, thought threatening a child would make me back down. He was wrong." "You're going to kill him?" "Yes." No hesitation. "Him and anyone else who knew about the threat and didn't stop it. The DeLuca family will understand that my family is off limits." Always. Maya should have been appalled. Should have argued for mercy or legal solutions. But all she could think about was that voice on the phone, threatening Emma with casual cruelty. Good, she said. Dante's eyebrows rose. You're not going to argue? Tell me there's a better way. There probably is, Maya admitted. But I'm a mother first. Someone threatened my child. I want them gone. Something shifted in Dante's expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition. You're stronger than you think, Maya Chen. I'm terrified, she corrected. But I'm also practical. Your world has rules I'm learning. And one of those rules is that threats to family require correction. You've been listening when I explain things. I always listen. Maya stood, moving around the desk to where Dante sat. I might not like everything about your world, but I understand it better now. And I understand that sometimes violence is the only language certain people speak. Dante pulled her into his lap, his arms wrapping around her waist. This is why I'm falling for you. You see the reality of my life and you don't flinch. You don't pretend it's something it's not. I flinch plenty, Maya said, her fingers threading through his hair. I just do it internally where you can't see. Liar. You're brave as hell. He kissed her neck, her jaw working his way toward her mouth. Tomorrow will be difficult. There will be news reports. The police will investigate. You and the children need to stay here, stay safe. We will. Maya kissed him back, pouring 3 weeks of growing affection and today's terror into it. Just promise me Emma stays protected. Always, Dante breathed against her lips. Both of you. For as long as I'm breathing. They stayed like that for a long time, holding each other in the quiet of his study, finding comfort in proximity while violence brewed on the horizon. Maya knew what tomorrow would bring. Knew that Dante's message would probably result in deaths, in escalation, in consequences she couldn't fully predict. But Emma would be safe. That was all that mattered. She'd come to this mansion to survive. Now she was learning to fight back. And with Dante Moretti beside her, she was starting to believe they might actually win. The news broke at 6:47 a.m. Maya was already awake, had been since 4 a.m., unable to sleep knowing what Dante had planned. She sat in the kitchen with cold coffee, watching the sunrise paint the Hudson River in shades of gold and pink, trying not to think about what was happening in the city. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Breaking, multiple fires reported at DeLuca family properties across NYC. Maya's hands tightened on her phone as she scrolled through the details. 3 warehouse fires, all in Brooklyn. No casualties reported but millions in damages. Authorities investigating possible arson. The DeLuca family declining to comment. He didn't kill them, Maya whispered to herself, relief and confusion warring in her chest. No, I didn't. She spun to find Dante standing in the doorway, still dressed in the black clothing he'd worn when he left last night. There was soot on his collar, the smell of smoke clinging to him, but his eyes were clear and focused entirely on her. You're surprised, he said, moving into the kitchen to pour himself espresso. You said you were sending a message. I thought. You thought I'd kill Carlo DeLuca and anyone else involved. Dante's voice was matter-of-fact. I could have. I wanted to. But you said something yesterday that made me reconsider. What did I say? That Emma needs to grow up in a world where violence isn't always the first answer. Dante sat across from her, his hands wrapped around the small cup. I've been thinking about that. About what kind of man I want to be for Luca, for you, for Emma. About whether I can build something better than what my father and grandfather built. Maya's heart was hammering. So what did you do? I destroyed their financial infrastructure, Dante said. The warehouses held their smuggling operations, their records, their leverage over various politicians and police. I took photographs of everything before I burned it. Evidence that will ensure the DeLucas can't operate in this city anymore without facing federal prosecution. You're turning them over to the authorities? I'm giving them a choice. Dante's expression hardened. Leave New York entirely and I keep the evidence to myself. Try to rebuild, try to retaliate, and everything goes to the FBI. They threatened a child, my child, in every way that matters. That can't stand unanswered. But it also doesn't require me to become the monster they expected. Maya stared at him, processing this shift. What changed? You were ready to kill them yesterday. You changed. Dante reached across the table, taking her hand. The way you looked at me when I promised violence, there was acceptance but also something else. Resignation maybe. Like you were accepting something you wished could be different. I realized I don't want you to accept that version of me. I want to be better. For you, for the children, for myself. Tears burned behind Maya's eyes. Dante. I'm not going soft, he continued. If Carlo DeLuca had actually touched Emma, if any of them had made good on their threats, I would have killed every single one of them without hesitation. But they didn't. They made a threat and I've neutralized it. That's enough. Maya stood, moving around the table to cup his face in her hands. You're a good man, Dante Moretti. A complicated, dangerous, good man. I'm a man trying to be worthy of you, he corrected, pulling her down onto his lap. And failing most days. You're not failing. Maya kissed him softly. You're evolving. That's harder. They sat like that for a long moment, holding each other in the quiet kitchen while the sun fully rose outside. Somewhere in Brooklyn, the DeLuca family was scrambling to understand what had happened, to calculate their next move. But here in this moment there was only peace. The sound of small feet on stairs interrupted them. Luca appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, his dark hair sticking up in all directions. Papa? Maya? Why are you up so early? Couldn't sleep, Dante said easily, his arms still around Maya's waist. Want to help me make pancakes? Luca's face lit up. With chocolate chips? Is there any other kind? Dante stood, setting Maya gently on her feet. Go wash your hands. We'll start the batter. As Luca scampered off to the bathroom, Maya caught Dante's arm. This right here. This is the man I'm falling for. Not the one who burns warehouses, but the one who makes chocolate chip pancakes with his son. They're the same man, Maya, Dante said quietly. You need to understand that. The violence and the pancakes, they're both me. I can't separate them. I know, Maya said. And I'm learning to accept all of it. The protection and the danger, the gentleness and the ruthlessness. Because they all come from the same place. Love for the people you've claimed as yours. You're mine now, Dante said, not a question but a statement. Completely. You understand that? Yes. Maya met his eyes without flinching. And you're mine. Completely. You understand that? Dante's smile was fierce and genuine. Yes. They sealed it with a kiss that was interrupted by Luca's return and Emma's sleepy appearance in the doorway. The children demanded attention, breakfast, the normal chaos of morning, and for a few hours they were just a family. Not a mafia boss and the woman he was falling for, but two adults trying to give three children a good life. But peace never lasted long in Dante's world. 2 weeks after the warehouse fires, Maya received a visitor. She was in the garden with Emma and Luca when Mrs. Bianchi appeared, her expression troubled. Miss Maya, there's someone at the gate asking for you. A woman. She says her name is Victoria DeLuca. Maya's blood ran cold. DeLuca. Where's Dante? In the city. I've already called Angelo, he's on his way back. But she says she's alone and unarmed, that she just wants to talk. Woman to woman. Every instinct screamed trap. But curiosity won out. Bring her to the sitting room. I'll meet her there. Keep the children with you inside, locked in the playroom. Miss Maya, I don't think. I need to know what she wants, Maya interrupted. And I need to face this myself. But have security ready just in case. 5 minutes later, Maya sat in the formal sitting room, a space she'd barely used, filled with expensive furniture and artwork that reminded her she didn't belong in this world. Across from her sat Victoria DeLuca. She was beautiful in a hard, polished way. Mid-30s, designer clothes, perfectly styled blonde hair, and eyes that held calculation and something that looked almost like respect. Thank you for seeing me, Victoria said, her voice cultured, educated. I know this is unexpected. That's one word for it, Maya said, keeping her voice steady. Your family threatened my daughter. Why would I agree to meet you? Because I'm here to end this war before it destroys both our families. Victoria leaned forward slightly. My uncle Marco, he's old school. He thinks in terms of territory and respect and blood feuds. But I'm not him. I've taken over family operations after your companion's message. And I'm here to propose a truce. Dante doesn't negotiate with people who threaten children. I know. That's why I'm here talking to you instead of him. Victoria's eyes were sharp. My cousin Carlo made a mistake. A massive, stupid mistake. He thought threatening the woman Dante Moretti loves would make him back down. He didn't understand that it would have the opposite effect. The casual way she said loves made Maya's heart skip. What do you want, Victoria? I want to end this before more people get hurt. Before my family is completely destroyed or before someone actually makes good on a threat and a child ends up dead. Victoria pulled out a folder, sliding it across the coffee table. This is a contract. Territory agreements, explicit protections for your family, and a mutual non-aggression pact. We stay out of Moretti business, you stay out of ours. Maya didn't touch the folder. Why come to me? Why not Dante directly? Because men like my uncle and, frankly, men like Dante Moretti, they operate on pride and power. They can't back down without losing face. But you, Victoria studied her, you're not part of that world. You're the mother protecting her child, the woman who took 4 bullets for Dante's son. You have moral authority, they don't. If you tell Dante to accept this truce, he'll listen. You think I have that much influence over him? I know you do. Victoria's smile was knowing. I've been watching the Moretti family for years. Dante's been untouchable, cold, focused only on business since his wife died. Then you appeared and suddenly he's making decisions based on more than just profit and power. He burned our warehouses instead of killing my family because of you. That's influence, Maya. Maya processed this carefully. And if I refuse? If I tell Dante to finish this? Then my family will fight back and this will escalate into a war that will end with children in the crossfire. Maybe Luca. Maybe Emma. Maybe my nephew's kids who didn't ask to be born into this life. Victoria's voice hardened. I'm trying to prevent that. But I need you to help me. The sitting room door opened. Dante stood there, his expression absolutely lethal, Angelo behind him with his weapon drawn. Get away from her, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. Mr. Moretti. Victoria stood slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. I'm here to negotiate peace, not conflict. You're here uninvited, speaking to my family without permission. Dante moved into the room like a predator. Give me one reason I shouldn't have Angelo remove you permanently. Because I'm offering you what you actually want, Victoria said, not backing down despite the clear danger. An end to the threat against Maya and Emma. Territory agreements that benefit both families. A chance to build something instead of destroying everything. Dante's eyes flicked to Maya. Did she threaten you? No, Maya said truthfully. She brought a contract. A truce offer. Let me see it. Victoria handed over the folder. Dante read through it with practiced speed, his expression giving nothing away. Maya watched him process the information, saw the moment his business mind engaged despite his protective fury. This gives up territory my family has controlled for 20 years, Dante finally said. And it guarantees safety for the people you love, Victoria countered. Which is worth more to you now, Mr. Moretti? Land or life? The question hung in the air. Maya saw Dante's jaw tighten, saw him struggling with pride and pragmatism. I need to think about this, he said finally. You can wait in. No, Maya interrupted. Both Dante and Victoria turned to her in surprise. I need to say something. She stood, moving to Dante's side. 2 months ago, I was a waitress from Washington Heights who could barely afford rent. I had no idea your world existed, no understanding of territory or power or family politics. But I've learned. I've watched how you operate, how decisions get made, how violence begets violence until everyone loses. Maya turned to Victoria. Your cousin threatened my daughter. That's unforgivable. But you're right that escalation will only put more children at risk. So here's what I propose. You accept full responsibility for Carlo's actions. He faces consequences, real ones, not just a slap on the wrist. And your family provides restitution, not money, but concrete actions that prove you understand the severity of threatening a child. What kind of actions? Victoria asked. Community investment. Youth programs in territories where gang violence recruits kids into this life. Education funding. Things that actually make a difference instead of just shifting power around. Maya's voice strengthened. And in exchange, Dante accepts your truce with modified terms that don't require him to give up territory his family has protected for generations. Dante was staring at her like he'd never seen her before. Maya. You said I'm part of this family now, Maya continued, meeting his eyes. That means I get a voice in decisions that affect us. And I'm saying that endless war isn't the answer. Building something better is. Victoria's expression had shifted to something like admiration. You're remarkable. Dante Moretti found himself a true partner. I found someone who sees past the violence to what actually matters, Dante said quietly. Family. Safety. Future. He looked back at Victoria. I'll agree to modified terms. But Carlo DeLuca leaves New York permanently, or he answers to me personally. Non-negotiable. Done, Victoria said immediately. He's already in Italy. My uncle exiled him the day after the fires. He won't be back. And the community programs Maya mentioned, you fund them properly, no half measures or the true sense. Agreed. Dante pulled out his phone, made a quick call. Minutes later, his attorney appeared with documents. They spent the next hour negotiating specifics, with Maya occasionally interjecting when discussions veered toward violence or vague language. When Victoria finally left, escorted by Angelo to ensure she truly departed, Dante pulled Maya into his arms. You just negotiated a peace treaty with one of my biggest rivals, he said, wonder in his voice. I negotiated safety for our children, Maya corrected. That's all that matters to me. Our children. Dante repeated the phrase, his arms tightening. You just called them our children. Luca and Emma. They are, aren't they? We're raising them together. We're building a life together. That makes them ours. Maya pulled back to look at him. Unless you think it's too soon or too presumptuous. Dante kissed her hard and deep, cutting off her uncertainty. When they separated, his eyes were blazing with emotion. Marry me, he said. Maya's breath caught. What? Marry me. Make this official. Make us a family in every legal and moral sense. I know it's fast, I know you probably want time, but Maya, I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Hear it from me. You and Emma, you're my future. Dante, we've only been together for 2 months. I fell in love with you in the hospital when you were unconscious and I was terrified you'd die, Dante said. I fell in love with you again when you stood up for Luca's well-being over my authority. I fell in love with you every morning when I found you in my kitchen, every night when you sang lullabies to my son, every moment you showed me that strength and kindness aren't mutually exclusive. 2 months, 2 years, 2 decades. The timeline doesn't matter. What matters is that I know. Maya's eyes were burning with tears. I have a daughter to think about. I can't make decisions just based on what I feel. Then think about Emma. Think about her having Luca as a brother, Mrs. Bianchi as a grandmother figure, a stable home with resources and protection. Think about her growing up in a family instead of just surviving with a mother who works herself to exhaustion. Dante's voice softened. I know you love me, Maya. I see it every time you look at me. The question is whether you trust me enough to say yes. Maya thought about Emma's laughter echoing through this mansion. About Luca calling her Mama Maya when he forgot himself. About waking up every morning to Dante's presence and going to sleep every night feeling safe for the first time in years. She thought about the life she could give Emma here versus the life they'd had before. About the man Dante was trying to become versus the man he'd been. About love that had grown from crisis into something solid and real. Ask me properly, Maya said, her voice shaking. Dante's expression transformed. He dropped to one knee right there in the sitting room, pulling a ring box from his pocket that suggested he'd been carrying it for a while, waiting for the right moment. Maya Chen, you walked into my life as a hero and became my heart. You showed me what it means to be brave without being violent, to be strong without being hard. You gave my son back his smile and gave me back my ability to feel. Will you marry me? Will you make me the luckiest man alive by becoming my wife? The ring was beautiful. A sapphire surrounded by diamonds, unique and stunning and somehow exactly her taste despite him having no way to know that. Yes, Maya whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Dante stood, sliding the ring onto her finger before kissing her with enough passion to make her forget they were standing in a formal sitting room in the middle of the afternoon. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, Maya laughed. We need to tell the children. We need to tell Mrs. Bianchi so she can start planning the wedding she's probably already been designing in her head, Dante corrected. That woman has been waiting for this moment since the day you arrived. They found the children in the playroom still under lockdown playing with Legos. Emma and Luca looked up when they entered, their faces lighting up. Mama, is the bad lady gone? Emma asked. She's gone, baby. And she wasn't actually bad, just complicated. Maya sat on the floor with them, Dante beside her. But we have something important to tell you both. What? Luca asked, abandoning his Lego castle. How would you two feel about becoming a real family? Dante asked. Not just living together but being brother and sister officially? Emma's eyes went wide. Like forever and ever? Like forever and ever, Maya confirmed. Dante asked me to marry him and I said yes. That means Emma, you'll have Luca as your brother and Luca, you'll have Emma as your sister. The children's reaction was immediate and overwhelming. They launched themselves at Maya and Dante, squealing with excitement, talking over each other about sharing rooms and planning adventures and all the things siblings did together. Does this mean I can call you Mama? Luca asked Maya shyly. For real? Maya's throat tightened with emotion. If you want to, sweet boy. I would love that. And can I call Dante Papa? Emma asked. I would be honored, Dante said, his voice rough with feeling. That night, after the children were asleep and the excitement had calmed, Maya found herself on the balcony outside her suite, staring at the ring on her finger and trying to process how much her life had changed in 2 months. Dante joined her, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the October chill. Having second thoughts? He asked. Having all the thoughts, Maya admitted. Scared, excited, terrified, happy, all of it at once. That's fair. Dante pulled her against his chest. I'm terrified too. Terrified I'll mess this up, that my world will hurt you again, that I'm not good enough for you. You are good enough, Maya said fiercely. You're exactly enough, Dante Moretti. They stood like that for a long time, wrapped in each other in the blanket, watching the city lights twinkle across the river. Somewhere out there the DeLuca family was regrouping. Other enemies were watching, calculating. Danger still existed. But here, on this balcony with this man's arms around her and their children sleeping safely inside, Maya felt something she'd never expected to feel again. Hope. Not just for survival but for a real future. A family. A life built on more than just getting by. When do you want to get married? Dante asked. Soon, Maya said. Before I overthink it. Before something else happens. While we're both still crazy enough to believe this can work. It will work, Dante said with certainty. Biz will make it work. Because we're both too stubborn to let it fail. Is that what love is? Stubbornness. Among other things. Dante turned her in his arms, his eyes serious in the moonlight. Love is also choosing each other every day. Fighting for each other. Building something together that's stronger than what either of us could build alone. Can you do that with me, Maya? Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, Maya promised. That's when it matters most. They sealed it with a kiss that tasted like promises and hope and the future they were choosing to build together. 2 months ago, Maya had thrown herself between bullets and a child she didn't know. Tonight she was choosing to throw herself into a life she'd never imagined, with a man she'd never expected to love, building a family that defied every odd. It was terrifying and exhilarating and absolutely right. But their happy ending would have to survive one more test. Because 3 weeks before the planned wedding, Maya's past came calling in the worst possible way. And this time it wouldn't be Dante's enemies threatening their family. It would be hers. Maya was picking up wedding invitations from the printer when she saw him. Maya Chen, her ex-husband. Emma's biological father who'd disappeared when Maya was 6 months pregnant, who'd never paid a dime of child support, who'd signed away his parental rights without a fight. He was standing outside the print shop, looking older and harder than she remembered, his eyes calculating as they locked onto her. Maya, he said, his voice the same smooth charm that had fooled her at 19. It's been a long time. Every protective instinct screamed at her to run, to call Angelo who was waiting in the SUV, to get as far from Marcus as possible. But she stood her ground. What do you want, Marcus? I heard you've done well for yourself. Engaged to Dante Moretti. Marcus's smile was predatory. That's quite the upgrade from a waitress's salary. How did you find me? I've been following your life from a distance. Making sure you and Emma were okay. The lie was smooth practice. And imagine my surprise when I see pictures of you at charity events, wearing designer clothes, living in a mansion. My daughter being raised by a criminal. Maya's blood ran cold. You have no rights to Emma. You signed them away. I was young and stupid. I can petition the court to regain custody, especially when I explain that my daughter is living in an environment with known organized crime figures. Marcus moved closer. Or we can make this easy. You pay me to disappear again. Let's say, $2 million. Pocket change for your fiancé. You're trying to extort me? I'm trying to ensure my daughter is safe and properly cared for. The sanctimony in his voice made Maya sick. 2 million, Maya. Or I go to the courts and the press. Imagine the headlines. Mafia boss's fiancé keeps child in dangerous environment. I'm sure that would do wonders for Emma's well-being. Maya's hands clenched into fists. You don't care about Emma's well-being. You care about money. Maybe. But that doesn't mean I won't win in court. You're unmarried, living with a known criminal, raising our daughter in a world of violence. I'm her biological father, suddenly concerned and reformed. The court will eat that up. Before Maya could respond, Angelo appeared at her side. His expression was pleasant, but his body language was pure threat. Is there a problem, Miss Chen? Marcus's confidence wavered slightly at Angelo's presence. No problem. Just catching up with my ex-wife. The boss would like a word with you, Angelo said, pulling out his phone. He's very interested in meeting the man who abandoned Maya when she was pregnant. I don't think. That wasn't a request. Angelo's pleasant mask dropped entirely. You made a threat against Mr. Moretti's family. That requires a conversation. 30 minutes later, Maya sat in Dante's downtown office while Marcus Chen faced the full force of Dante Moretti's cold fury. Let me make sure I understand, Dante said, his voice deadly calm. You abandoned Maya when she was pregnant. Signed away all parental rights. Contributed nothing to Emma's life for 5 years. And now you want $2 million or you'll drag Maya through court and the media. Marcus was sweating despite the office's air conditioning. I'm Emma's father. I have rights. You have nothing. Dante stood, moving around his desk with predatory grace. You're a deadbeat who sees an opportunity to exploit. But you made a critical error in judgment. What's that? You thought threatening Maya would work like any other extortion. But Maya isn't just my fiancée. She's under my protection. And people who threaten what's mine tend to have very short, very unpleasant futures. Dante's smile was terrifying. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign a legally binding document that permanently and irrevocably terminates any claim you have to Emma. You're going to agree to never contact Maya or Emma again. And in exchange, I won't destroy your life. You can't. I can and I will. Dante pulled out a folder, spreading photographs across his desk. These are pictures of you with known drug dealers. These are bank records showing money laundering. These are witness statements about your involvement in insurance fraud. I had my people research you the moment you appeared outside that print shop. Did you really think I wouldn't protect my family? Marcus's face had gone pale. How did you? I'm Dante Moretti. I know everything about people who threaten what's mine. Dante leaned against his desk. Sign the papers, Marcus. Walk away. Or I give this evidence to the police and you spend the next 15 years in prison. Your choice. Maya watched Marcus's calculation, saw the moment he realized he'd completely misjudged the situation. He'd thought he could intimidate a single mother. He hadn't counted on that single mother having the backing of one of New York's most powerful crime families. Where do I sign? Marcus asked, defeated. 20 minutes later, with Marcus's signature on legal documents and a promise to never contact them again, Angelo escorted him out. Dante pulled Maya into his arms. Are you okay? I'm furious, Maya admitted. Furious that he thought he could use Emma as leverage. Furious that he showed up at all. Furious that I was ever stupid enough to marry him. You were 19 and looking for family, Dante said gently. That's not stupid, that's human. How did you know? About him being outside the print shop. Angelo reported an unknown man watching you. I had him followed, identified, and researched within an hour. The evidence I showed him is real, Maya. He's a criminal, just a pathetic one. Dante's jaw tightened. And he tried to use my family for extortion. That can't stand. What happens now? Now he disappears from your life permanently. And if he ever tries to contact Emma, he'll answer to me. Dante's voice was absolute. Nobody threatens our children. Not the DeLucas, not your ex-husband, nobody. Maya's breath caught at the possessive declaration. Our children. Our children, Dante confirmed. Emma is mine now in every way that matters. I'll adopt her legally after the wedding if you'll allow it. Give her my name, my protection, everything. Tears burned behind Maya's eyes. She'd love that. She already thinks of you as her father. And I think of her as my daughter. Dante kissed her forehead. You don't have to face these things alone anymore, Maya. That's what family means. That's what we're building. That night, Maya sat with Emma at bedtime, trying to figure out how to explain what had happened without terrifying her daughter. Mama, why are you sad? Emma asked, her 5-year-old perception too sharp. I saw your biological father today, Maya said carefully. The man who helped make you but who left before you were born. Emma's expression turned serious. The mean man who made you cry? Maya's throat tightened. She'd never explicitly told Emma about Marcus, but children picked up more than adults realized. Yes, baby. That man. What did he want? He wanted money. But Dante made him go away. And he promised never to bother us again. Emma was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, Dante is my real papa, right? Not the mean man. What makes you say that, sweet girl? His papas take care of their kids. They make pancakes and read stories and keep them safe from bad things. Dante does all that. The mean man doesn't. So Dante is my real papa. Emma's logic was simple and perfect. Maya pulled her daughter close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo scent. You're absolutely right. Dante is your real papa in every way that matters. Good. Emma snuggled into Maya's embrace. I like our family. You and me and Papa and Luca. We're perfect. We are perfect, Maya agreed, her heart full to bursting. Later, when Emma was asleep and Maya returned to her suite, she found a small box on her pillow. Inside was a delicate necklace with 2 charms, a sapphire for Emma's birthstone and an emerald for Luca's. A note in Dante's handwriting read, "For the mother of my children. Both of them. Boys." D. Maya held the necklace to her chest and let herself cry, tears of relief, of gratitude, of overwhelming love for the family they were building together. She'd survived so much. Poverty, abandonment, violence, threats from all sides. But she'd also found something she never expected. A home. A partner. A future built on more than just survival. 3 weeks later she'd marry Dante Moretti and make it all official. But in her heart she already knew the truth. They were already a family. The wedding was just making it legal. And nothing, not the DeLucas, not Marcus, not any threat from either of their pasts, would ever tear them apart. The wedding. Maya woke on her wedding day to October sunshine streaming through her windows and Emma bouncing on her bed with excitement. Mama, it's wedding day. We get to wear our beautiful dresses. Maya laughed, pulling her daughter into a hug. Yes, we do, baby. The most beautiful dresses ever. Mrs. Bianchi appeared in the doorway with a breakfast tray. The bride must eat. You'll need energy for the day ahead. The wedding was being held at the estate, in the gardens that had been transformed into something magical. White roses and fairy lights, chairs for 100 guests, mostly Dante's business associates and family, though Maya had insisted on inviting the staff from her old diner and a few friends from Emma's previous school. As Maya went through the preparations, hair, makeup, the dress that had been custom designed to make her feel like a princess, she kept waiting for something to go wrong. For another threat, another crisis, another test. But the day remained perfect. Emma and Luca served as flower girl and ring bearer, both taking their roles with adorable seriousness. Angelo stood as Dante's best man, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo but fiercely proud. Mrs. Bianchi cried through the entire ceremony. And Dante looked at Maya like she was the only person in the world. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, when Dante kissed her with enough passion to make their guests cheer, Maya felt something settle in her chest. A certainty. A rightness. This was her family. This was her future. This was home. At the reception during their first dance, Dante pulled her close and whispered in her ear. I have a gift for you. You've already given me everything, Maya said. Not everything. Dante guided her off the dance floor through the house to his study. He pulled out a folder, handing it to her. Inside were legal documents. Adoption papers for Emma already signed by a judge. And a deed to a community center in Washington Heights in Maya's name. What is this? Maya's voice shook. The adoption is official. Emma is legally my daughter now. Emma Moretti, if you approve the name change. Dante's thumb traced her cheekbone. And the community center is your wedding gift. Victoria's family is funding it as part of our truce agreement, but I wanted it to be yours to manage. A place for kids like you and Emma who need safety and support and opportunities. Maya couldn't speak, could only stare at the papers that represented everything she'd ever wanted. Security for her daughter, a chance to help other struggling families, acknowledgement that her ideas mattered. You've given me back my life, Dante continued. My son's happiness, my ability to feel, my hope for a future that's more than just power and territory. This is my way of saying thank you. Saying I see you, Maya Moretti. Not just the woman I love, but the woman who wants to change the world one child at a time. I love you, Maya whispered, tears streaming down her face. I love you so much it terrifies me. Good, Dante said, kissing her softly. Terror means you're paying attention. Means you know how precious this is. How rare. They returned to the reception hand in hand, to their children dancing together, to their family and friends celebrating, to a future that was finally, beautifully theirs. 6 months later, Maya stood in the community center, the Sophia and Emma Center named for both daughters past and present, watching children pour in after school. The space offered homework help, hot meals, art classes, and most importantly, safety for kids who needed it. Emma and Luca were there most afternoons helping out with the younger children, completely comfortable in both worlds, the mansion's luxury and the center's humble warmth. Dante appeared beside her, sliding an arm around her waist. How are the numbers? We're at capacity. I'm already planning the expansion. Maya leaned into him. This is making a difference, Dante. Real, tangible difference. I know. He kissed her temple. You're making a difference. Like you always have. That night, after the children were asleep and they lay tangled together in their shared bedroom, Maya had finally agreed to combine their suites. Dante traced patterns on her shoulder. I have news, he said. Maya tensed slightly. In Dante's world, news was rarely simple. Good news or concerning news? Potentially complicated news. He propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her. I've been offered a position. Legitimate business, completely legal. It would mean transitioning the family operations toward the legal enterprises we own, stepping back from the other aspects. Maya's heart started racing. You'd leave the criminal side? Gradually, yes. It would take years to fully transition and there would still be connections, obligations to old allies. But I've been thinking about what kind of world I want Luca and Emma to grow up in. What kind of man I want to be for you. And Maya, I want to be someone you can be proud of. Completely proud of, without reservations. I'm already proud of you, Maya said fiercely. You've changed so much since we met. Because of you. Because you showed me there's another way. Dante's expression was vulnerable. But I need to know if you'll support this. If you'll help me navigate becoming someone different. Maya cupped his face in her hands. I'll support anything that makes you happy, that keeps our family safe, that lets our children grow up with less violence in their lives. But Dante, I fell in love with all of you. The dangerous parts and the gentle parts. You don't have to change for me. I'm not changing for you, he said. I'm changing for me. For the man I want to be. You just made me believe it's possible. They made love that night with new tenderness, new understanding, sealing another promise in the long chain of promises that had brought them here. 1 year later, Maya was 7 months pregnant with their first biological child together when she got the call. Victoria DeLuca was on the line, her voice tight with urgency. Maya, I need your help. What's wrong? My niece, Isabella. She's 16, pregnant, and the father is from a rival family. My uncle wants to force her into an abortion or marriage. I'm trying to protect her, but I need someone who understands. Someone who got pregnant young and survived. Maya didn't hesitate. Bring her to the center. We'll figure this out. 2 hours later, Isabella DeLuca sat in Maya's office. A terrified teenager who looked far too young to be facing these impossible choices. I want to keep my baby, Isabella said, her chin trembling. But everyone says I'm too young, that it will ruin my life. Maya thought about herself at 17, pregnant and alone, terrified but determined. Having a baby young is hard. Impossibly hard sometimes. But it doesn't have to ruin your life. It can also give you purpose, strength, a reason to become more than you ever thought you could be. My family will disown me, Isabella whispered. Then we'll help you build a new family. Maya reached across the desk, taking the girl's hand. You have options, Isabella. You can choose adoption like many young mothers do. You can choose to parent with support. But the choice is yours, not your uncle's or anyone else's. Your body, your life, your decision. Over the next few months, Maya helped Isabella navigate the impossible terrain of teenage pregnancy. She connected her with resources, helped mediate conversations with Victoria and eventually Isabella's parents. And when Isabella chose to place her baby for adoption with a loving couple who couldn't have children, Maya held her hand through it all. On the day Isabella said goodbye to her son, watching him go home with his new parents, she clung to Maya and cried. Does it ever stop hurting? Isabella asked. No, Maya said honestly. But it becomes bearable. And every time you see him happy and loved and thriving, you know you made the right choice. Dante found Maya that night, standing in the nursery they'd prepared for their baby, tears streaming down her face. What's wrong, amore? Nothing's wrong, Maya said. Everything's right. Isabella placed her baby today and she's going to be okay. Our baby is healthy and growing. Emma and Luca are thriving. You're building a legitimate empire. We're actually making it work, Dante. All of it. He held her as she cried, tears of relief and joy and overwhelming gratitude for the life they'd built from bullets and blood and impossible circumstances. You saved me, Dante whispered into her hair. The day you threw yourself between those men and Luca, you saved more than just his life. You saved mine too. We saved each other, Maya corrected. You gave me safety. I gave you hope. Together we built something neither of us could have built alone. Our empire, Dante agreed. Built on love instead of fear. 5 years later, Maya stood in the park, the same park where she'd been shot 5 years ago, watching Emma, now 10, pushing her 5-year-old brother Marco on the swings while Luca, now 9, showed their 3-year-old daughter Sofia how to navigate the monkey bars. 4 children. A blended, beautiful, chaotic family. Dante appeared beside her, his hand finding hers automatically. Thinking about that day? Always. Maya leaned into him. 5 years ago I was terrified and desperate. If someone had told me this would be my life, you wouldn't have believed them. I would have thought they were insane. Maya smiled. But here we are. The Sofia and Emma Center had expanded to 3 locations. Dante's legitimate businesses were thriving, and while he still had connections to his old world, he'd successfully transitioned the family operations to mostly legal enterprises. The De Luca family had become unlikely allies, with Victoria occasionally consulting Maya on programs for at-risk youth. Emma was confident and compassionate, splitting her time between private school and volunteer work at the center. Luca was gentle and brilliant, already showing signs of his father's strategic mind but his mother's kindness. Marco was pure joy, always laughing. And Sofia was fierce and determined, clearly taking after Maya. Do you ever regret it? Dante asked. Saying yes that day in the hospital? Maya thought about the question carefully. About the dangers they'd faced, the threats they'd survived, the complicated reality of loving a man with Dante's past. Never, she said firmly. Not once. Even with all the complications? Especially because of the complications. Maya turned to face him fully. You know what I learned, Dante? That love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone worth fighting for. Worth changing for. Worth building something beautiful and messy and real with. And I'm worth it? He asked with a vulnerability that still surprised her after all these years. You're worth everything, Maya said. The man who makes pancakes with our children, who funds community centers, who's learning to solve problems without violence, who loves me enough to become better. That man is worth the world. Dante kissed her there in the park, in front of their children and other families and the whole complicated, beautiful world they'd built together. Gross. Marco yelled from the swings. Papa's kissing Mama again. That's what people in love do, Emma called back, sounding far too mature for 10. When I grow up, I'm never kissing anyone, Luca declared. Yes, you will, Sofia said with certainty. Everyone kisses someone eventually. Maya and Dante laughed, breaking apart to chase their children through the playground. To push swings and catch kids coming down slides and make memories in the place where their story had started with bullets and blood. "Hey Mama," Emma said later as they walked back to the car. "You know what I want to be when I grow up?" "What's that, sweet girl?" "Someone who saves people. Like you saved Luca. Like Papa saved us. Someone who makes the world better." Maya's throat tightened with emotion. "You already are that person, Emma. You've been her your whole life." That night, after all 4 children were asleep and the house was quiet, Maya found Dante on their balcony, the same balcony where he'd proposed 5 years ago. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "Everything," Dante said. "How grateful I am. How impossible this all seemed. How you changed everything." "We changed everything," Maya corrected. "Together." "Together," he agreed. They stood like that for a long time, watching the city lights twinkle across the river, feeling the autumn breeze that carried memories of bullets and blood and impossible choices that had somehow led to this perfect, complicated, beautiful life. Maya thought about the woman she'd been 5 years ago, desperate, struggling, barely surviving. She thought about the woman she'd become, strong, confident, loved and loving. She thought about the children sleeping inside, the community they'd built, the future they were creating. And she knew with absolute certainty that every bullet, every threat, every impossible moment had been worth it. Because it had led her here. To this man, this family, this life. To home. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.